Well, it is another delightful, I'm going to use that word delightful, episode of And Also, where Kirk Steigler and I take a part of scripture or a part of a message or a part of the series that we're doing at Faith Alliance Church, and we have a conversation about it. So that's what we do, and that's what we're going to do. And since we are in the book of Revelation, which now that we're almost completed with it, I still think it was a crazy decision. It's my decision, but I still think it was a crazy decision. But we're in Revelation 18, and we have the destruction of the city.
Kick it off with regret. That's beautiful.
I've just given you insight into my entire life. Kick it off with regret is going to be.
First of all, it's delightful, and then what have I done?
Why did I do this to myself? Kick it off with regret will be the name of my memoir.
Oh man! Wow. Well, that's interesting. Okay.
That's so. Speaking of regret, we're in Revelation 18, which, if you haven't read it before, it's kind of the last chapter before you get obviously into 19. But 19 through 22 is when God recreates everything, and you get the marriage feast of the Lamb, and you get the redemption of all things. You get this picture of the new heaven and the new earth. There's 4 just incredible chapters. But before you get there, it's dark and grisly, at least to me. But what I love about what Kirk and I get to do is we get to just kind of have a conversation about it, and we come at it from different perspectives. So now that we know kind of where we're coming from, Revelation 18, the destruction of Babylon, we know that much. That's what the kind of the byline is. I'm going to turn things over to Kirk to completely exegete the passage.
What now?
or at least talk about it. So let's talk about Revelation 18. And I will say, as you're getting to it, I highly doubt there's another podcast that is currently, and I'll say currently within the last 6 months, talking about Revelation 18.
Are you sure?
I would be shocked.
I would not be shocked, but I would be surprised that they come at it from the angles that we do.
Ooh, even better. Okay, on that note,
I don't doubt that there are lots of people who are quoting from Revelation on a regular basis.
I would say Revelation, but Revelation 18, I mean, that's
sure. As a matter of fact, considering the times, I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, maybe. Oh, okay. All right. Well, but from this perspective, now I'm interested in the perspective.
But, well, so the headline on the version that I'm looking at, which is the NIV, right, starts out with lament over fallen Babylon.
Mm.
So people aren't like, hooray, finally, Babylon's gone. It's the merchants and the people at sea who are, oh no, standing back, as it says, watching the destruction of the city. And it's interesting that it starts with an angel coming down from heaven who had such great authority, the earth was illuminated by his splendor. Like, how much authority do you have that you're sparkly? Right? That's amazing.
That's a lot of authority.
That's a lot of authority. Like, when people don't need lights because your authority is so powerful. That's amazing. So that kicks it off where he quotes from Isaiah, right?
Mm.
And then this next group of sentences is interesting. So where it says, she's become a dwelling for demons and a haunt for every impure spirit. Now, we just came through a season where people are decorating that way. Right? So where is that? That is a graveyard. Right? A haunted place is like the spooky place is a graveyard. Right? That's the image that they're calling for.
Huh.
An unclean place for people who are keeping that way.
Huh.
A haunt for every unclean bird. Now, that part I love, because if you've ever owned a bird, not a single bird is clean. They're just really messy animals, but they're called out as unclean here.
As they should be, every bird.
Right. Dirty bird.
Dirty bird.
But, unclean bird, I don't know what that could translate to, but there they are. Don't hang out with those. A haunt for every unclean and detestable animal. And, somebody loves everything, right? So I'm not really sure what those qualify as. Like, I don't think there's anybody out there who really likes ticks. If you do, leave a comment below, but probably not. So maybe those, but every unclean and detestable animal.
Mm.
All the nations have drunk the maddening wine of her adulteries.
Mm.
So, I now this part is interesting because it's this moment where this angel has come down and just makes this announcement, right?
Yeah.
We don't hear suddenly and it exploded. Just makes the announcement, fallen, fallen.
It's not play. You're right. So it's not playing out the action of that. It's just making a proclamation of it. That's it.
And this sentence of, for all the nations have drunk the maddening wine of her adulteries. So did everyone have beer goggles? Is that what they're trying to say before that moment? That no one noticed because they were so drunk with the power, right? With the riches, that they didn't see that what was really there was detestable.
Interesting.
Maybe that's the thing.
I don't. I will be honest with you. As I don't think you're off on this. This is actually really good. Keep going.
Oh, sorry. So the kings of the earth committed adultery with her. The merchants of the earth grew rich from her excessive luxuries. How did she get those? So somebody, somehow those accumulated. Were they were gifts? How did they get there? But then I heard another voice, "Come out of her, my people, so that you will not share in her sins, so that you will not receive any of her plagues, because they're coming." Right? It's about to get ugly. For her sins are piled up to heaven. I mean, whoa. Human beings tried to get there, and that's where we get the Tower of Babel. And so,
Do you think that's a connect? That's they're trying to make that connection.
I think that's just a metaphor, right?
Yeah, it's good.
Because no one can get there, right? Is the truth and the understanding. So to say that they piled to heaven means, holy smokes, there's more than anyone's ever seen. Right? And God has remembered her crimes. Did God not notice the crimes before now? No, of course he noticed. But, they make the case that the crimes are so excessive.
Yeah.
There's so many that finally there's no other option than God has to step in now. Give back to her as she has given. Pay her back double for what she has done. So, so everyone was getting rich, or so it says, right? So everyone was committing adultery with, or cuddling up to, next to,
And living off of.
living off of
Huh.
the connection.
Huh.
But it came at a price. And so now that price is being paid back, right? So what did people do in order to try to get connected to or famous from or who knows what? Now that price has to be repaid, and it's going to be paid back to her, right? It's her in quotes, because it's not a singular place. It's not a
Right. Yeah.
It's not a city. It's
yeah.
represented as a city here, but it's it's awful. But in any case, so this part is odd to me. Pour her a double portion from her own cup. So her cup is holding 5 ounces, and you pour double, it won't fit. It's from her own cup. That's pretty awesome. The math there throws me off, but I'm thinking that what they mean is like, give back to her what she has done, right?
Yeah. But in her own way, by her own deeds. It's not even at saying, well, let's get vengeance. It's like, just
no. This is what you made us do.
Yeah.
And now you get it back.
Yeah.
Twice as much. Give her as much torment and grief as the glory and luxury she gave herself. So inherited glory and luxury by causing grief and torment to others. Right? So that's I mean, we can look around and see that now, right? Everywhere around us, it happens. In her heart she boasts, I sit enthroned as a queen. I'm not a widow. And again, that's a quote from Isaiah, right? Um, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Isaiah 47, it says, I will never mourn, which is, that's really boastful. I don't know anyone who's never lost something or someone that they love and never mourned, but apparently very confident. Therefore, in one day, her plagues will overtake her, death, mourning, and famine, and she will be consumed by fire. For mighty is the Lord God who judges her. I mean, whoa, right? So, again, right before we pressed record, we were just talking about it takes a while to build, especially at this point in history, to build a city.
Yeah.
You have people chiseling stone. You have people coming up with water source directions, right? Coming and going. Yeah, like
Moving
streets, like getting people in and out, all the equipment in and out, all that stuff to build a city takes forever at this point in history. So cities that exist are in existence because people put a lot of work into them, and here it's being leveled in at the top of this in an hour, and here in a day, right? So that's amazing rapid destruction, mind-blowingly rapid destruction for this point in history. Because at that point, if you're going to take a city, you'd siege the city, right? And it would take a while.
Yeah.
Right. So, but this is immediate
Yeah.
destruction, which would be shocking and mind-blowing. The shock and awe, as it were. And then it goes into the section titled The Threefold Woe. Right? The threefold woe over Babylon's fall. When the kings of the earth who committed adultery with her and shared her luxury see the smoke of her burning, they will weep and mourn over her. Terrified at her torment, they will stand far off and cry, woe, woe to you, great city, you mighty city of Babylon. In 1 hour your doom has come. Right? That again, it must have been amazingly shocking to consider that. Like, at this point, the reader, first of all, any listener of this book, right, at one of the 7 churches when this was first read, must have been like, what is happening?
How can you even destroy a city in an hour? Like, I mean, that, like, like, just to, like, even to imagine that for them would be just overwhelming. Yeah.
But wherever they imagined Babylon to be,
right?
I mean, they knew the actual physical place, but that had long gone by that point, or it was not what it was. The merchants of the earth will weep and mourn over her because no one buys their cargoes anymore. Cargoes of gold, silver, precious stones, pearls, fine linen, purple silk, and scarlet cloth, every sort of citron wood, and articles of every kind made of ivory, costly wood, bronze, iron, marble, cargoes of cinnamon and spice, of incense, myrrh and frankincense, of wine and olive oil, fine flour and wheat, cattle and sheep, horses and carriages. I like that they include the carriages. And then this statement is interesting. It doesn't just say slaves.
Yeah.
It says, and human beings sold as slaves. Like, oof. Everybody,
they want you to know something. Yeah.
Hey, American history. It's right there. But in any case, that's a lot of luxury goods listed. And, I mean, when you get down to the wine, olive oil, fine flour, wheat, that's all like necessities. But, I mean, these are all luxury items. Horse and carriage. Like, most people are just walking. If you have a carriage, you're doing pretty well, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
If you have slaves, you're doing well.
Yeah.
Because everyone else is doing your work for free. If you have, you're selling cinnamon and spice, your food tastes great. Because everything else is bland, right? So that's why Christopher Columbus came here. But it's amazing to imagine like this list of things that are things people desire, right?
Yeah.
These are like if you have cargoes of gold and silver, precious stones.
You have made it. Yeah,
And
like
pearls, how hard was it to find pearls back then?
that's true. There's no pearl farms there.
Right?
Yeah.
They're not farming it. The people are diving and getting.
Yeah.
So they're super rare. So, it's amazing, this list of stuff, right? Fancy things,
Yeah.
luxurious things that were regular commodities from this Babylon that are now shut off and destroyed, right? This is where it was a provider of these things, it is not anymore.
Huh. Are lost to you, never to be found again. Verse 14.
Yeah.
Huh.
The fruit you long for is gone from you. All your luxury and splendor have vanished, never to be recovered. The merchants who sold these things and gained their wealth from her will stand far off, terrified at her torment. They will weep and mourn and cry out. Here's the second woe. Woe! Woe to you, great city, dressed in fine linen, purple and scarlet, and glittering with gold, precious stones, and pearls. In 1 hour, such great wealth has been brought to ruin. And again, people had put their trust, right, in always having, in like the greed of that.
Well, and having, but then also, like accumulating. So it's
Yeah.
like it's not just. Actually, I like that. It's not just horses. It's horses and carriages. It's
Yeah.
like it's like there's no. It's just it's always more. That that's really interesting.
And then the next section here. So we went through kings, merchants. Now we're at sea captains. All who travel by ship, the sailors, and all who earn their living from the sea will stand far off when they see the smoke of a burning.
Huh.
And they will exclaim, was there ever a city like this great city? They will throw dust on their heads and weeping and mourning cry out. So this is intense mourning, right? They are bringing suffering on themselves in their dread. Right?
Because they see the city.
Like what the people of Nineveh did.
Yeah.
Right?
Huh.
Right? It's that intense.
Yeah.
Woe, woe to you, great city, where all who had ships on the sea became rich through her wealth. In 1 hour she's been brought to ruin. And then we switch. Right? It's all been woe. And now rejoice over her, you heavens. Rejoice, you people of God. Rejoice, apostles and prophets. For God has judged her, and with the judgment she imposed on you.
Wow.
So, whoa, that door swung quick. Right?
Good catch. That's a good catch. That up until that point, it's this grief, and then
everyone who had been made rich from interacting with Babylon is filled with dread and woe and a deep pain, right? And bringing pain on themselves in their grief. And then that's the opposite of the joy felt by those who had been oppressed by Babylon until that moment. And now they can rejoice because all that they suffered is turned on its head on her.
Huh.
So their suffering is being, had been seen and is being turned around. And they, because they have endured it, now can rejoice. And then this next sentence is interesting. So first we have an angel with great authority.
Yeah.
And the authority illuminates the earth. Like, wow, that's amazing. And now we get a mighty angel. A different description.
Yeah.
So maybe the one with authority wasn't mighty, but this one is listed as mighty. The angel picked up a boulder the size of a large millstone and threw it into the sea. And that's... okay, I mean, it's very dramatic. You could have just like dropped it, but chucks it in the sea. And says, with such violence, the great city of Babylon will be thrown down, never to be found again. And we talk about the sea of forgetfulness, right? So where our sins are forgiven and forgotten. Right?
Yeah.
But with such violence, a great city of Babylon will be thrown down, never to be found again. This part makes me giggle a little bit. The music of harpists and musicians So apparently harpists are not magicians. Unfortunately, the harpists hadn't gotten it together at that point. Pipers and trumpeters will never be heard in you again. No worker of any trade will ever be found in you again. The sound of a millstone will never be heard in you again. The light of a lamp will never shine in you again. The voice of a bridegroom and bride will never be heard in you again. So these are all the things, daily life
Yeah.
stuff, the joy of life stuff that had been going on and is normal and expected, snuffed out, right? Your merchants were the world's important people. That's also really interesting, right? So I represent Babylon. I sell from Babylon, right? So to imagine, your merchants were the world's important people. By your magic spell, all the nations were led astray.
Wow.
In her was found the blood of prophets and of God's holy people, and all who have been slaughtered on the earth. And all who have been slaughtered on the earth. Whoa, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
There's an indictment. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's some heavy judgment. So to be snuffed out and erased to the point where never to be seen again.
Yeah. I know.
That's intense. Yeah. That kind of a leveling. It must have been shocking. I can't even imagine.
Well, you look at, you do look at Babylon as an empire, which doesn't exist, not in the form that it did. And then in John's time, Rome, which exists, of course, but not in the form that it did. The British Empire, like you look at the Ottoman Empire, like you look at all the, there's a great poem by Pierce Shelley. I don't know. There's a great poem.
Smith.
There's a great poem called Ozymandias.
Oh yeah, Ozymandias.
Yeah. And it's just for the
look upon me and weep.
Yeah. It's this traveler comes upon this broken down massive statue in the middle of a desert, and he finds this plaque, and he reads it. My name is Ozymandias, blah 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 blah, and look upon me. And he talks about how great his empire is, and how wonderful it is, and look upon me and weep, and all this stuff. And you get this image of like this pronouncement of unstoppable power, and it's all broken down and gone. It's forgotten. So I think of that poem all the time when I read Revelation, because you look and say, like, there is evidence of the Roman Empire everywhere, right? Still, right? Artifacts, walls, right? Correct. It's so, not to say its influence is not there, but there is a sense of, like, what is there? Well, there's influence. What's left of the Roman Empire is Rome, is the city of Rome. It's a tourist destination. There's much more, of course. There's artifacts, historical, and architecture, and so on. But there is a sense of, like, so I think if I was a Roman citizen back in the first century, is there a time that I would ever think that there's anything that isn't Rome? Like, no, like Rome is the most powerful, like, or even the British Empire. The sun never sets on the British Empire. Is there ever going to be a place where the British Empire is not? Is there ever a place where Rome is not? Is there? And so if you're in it, you're like, well, this is all. Look at how much power in gravitas and all that stuff. And then you're like, oh, they're all gone. They're.
But another way I think to look at that too is the removal of any sinful gain by anywhere, anytime, not just a place.
Right. Not by, yes. You are right. Yeah.
Because the next section is the rebuilding of the new heaven, new earth, right?
And I think that's there. I'm looking at I guess an analogy.
Yeah.
So though it is true that Rome doesn't exist as it does, nor the British Empire. I'm also not necessarily suggesting that it was judgment that did it, but analogically, like, as an analogy, it's like there's a sense where ill-gotten gain does not. Mm-hmm. It's eventually it will come into judgment. Like, so I think you are right. I think the way that you're reading is actually correct. that there's a real sense of judgment. I'm trying to look at it as an analogy, but I think that, and especially because I do think there's a real sense of like, you know, and I'm trying to be careful, but I'm also, you know, honestly, Babylon doesn't leave a lot of opportunity to hedge your words, but there is a sense of most of the mechanisms that humanity has created, like the city as an example, empire as an example, but politically, I mean, like any corporations, and I'm not poo-pooing all man-made organizations. That's not my point. But at the end of the day, the way that they distribute, they're not creating equality with power. They're not using power appropriately. That doesn't create luxury for some people and not for others. She glorified herself and lived in luxury, but at whose cost, right? Like there's always a cost where another person, where you get to the other point where there's sheep and cattle and horses and chariots and slaves, that is human souls, right? So it's like some people have all this stuff, and then at what cost? Well, there's slaves and human souls. So there's always this unequal distribution, where I do think that's part of what the fall of Babylon is, what the judgment is coming against, and that is not just a social reality. That's also a heart condition and a rebellion against God. To say like, well, I'm going to live in luxury, and regardless of what it causes,
to boast it.
And to boast on it, right? Is and I think I've not picked up on this, and you made a comment about it, which I thought was really interesting. She glorified herself and lived in luxury. This is verse 7. So give her a like measure to torment and mourning. Since in her heart she says, I sit as a queen, I am no widow, and mourning I shall never see. So like, she can't even, the woman, she can't even like, she rejects even mourning and grief and loss. Like she can't even experience loss. Like that's how kind of like detached she is. That's an interesting comment to make.
Actually, coming up on the holiday that we're about to enter, right? To enter a time of Thanksgiving deliberately as a people.
Huh.
This character of Babylon has nothing they're thankful for. They just gloat that they have it.
And accumulate more.
More at the cost of everyone, right?
That's a good point.
Whereas we are called upon at this time to be grateful for what we do have, right? And hopefully, I mean, all of us, compared to somebody, have wealth. All of us. If you're listening to this on an electronic device,
period, yeah,
you're doing great, right? You're doing just fine, right? So it's an amazing thing to imagine, because none of us ever see ourselves as wealthy, right? Everyone's got a bill to pay, right? Everyone's got something to do. We pretty much all of us are working because you gotta. None of us were born rich, whatever that means.
Right.
But it means something to somebody else. Somebody's got less than you.
Yeah.
And they are looking up and going, if only I had X, right? That kind of not quite jealousy, but like a longing for. Everyone's looking in a direction like that, or it can get lost in a direction like that. And it's important to come into this time to pause and remember that you do have things. You are comfortable, generally speaking. You do have access to healthcare, food, water, pretty much clean water, which is amazing.
Yeah.
All right. And then, you're doing okay. You're above the dirt. You're listening to this. You're doing okay. Right? So there's a lot to be grateful for. We live in a beautiful part of the world. People come here from all over the place just to see
on purpose
our leaves fall down. It's amazing. Think about that for a minute. All right, so we live in a beautiful place. We have so much to be thankful for, and here is this character who gained everything
Yeah.
and dealt in everything without any gratitude.
Yeah. Well, and the gratitude assumes dependence on something else. On some like if I'm grateful, it's because I'm grateful that something else has provided.
There has been grace.
Gratitude because of what God has done. Gratitude because I've got family. Gratitude because I've got friends. Gratitude because I've got everything I need for today. It communicates a dependency on something else. You have to be grateful. You're saying there's something else that I'm grateful for. It's not just me. Babylon, or the woman she's not. There's no it's just she's alone in
I am queen.
Yeah, I don't need to mourn. I don't have, because I have nothing. Like, oh wow, that's it's an interesting, because if you look at, it's kind of like by Revelation 18, God's right about to recreate all of heaven and earth, and you kind of get this this last offense against God before he's like, okay, now that we've dealt with this, let me show you what life is supposed to be like, where you can't help but be like unbelievably grateful. He's showing all the things that everyone's accumulated, but there's no gratitude, and he's like, well, here's what life looks like. But through the New Testament, I mean, it's all filled with like, there's commands to be grateful, and it doesn't say, this is helpful for me, because he doesn't say, hey, when you feel grateful, offer gratitude. He's like, just give gratitude. Like learn that there's gifts in your life, and that in life itself is a gift, and you're called to give gratitude. And so yeah, even heading up to Thanksgiving, it's I had thought, and I still probably do think, Revelation 18 leading into Thanksgiving, and then even preaching it the Sunday is like, what a weird passage to preach on Thanksgiving. I mean, it just is where it fell, so it is what it is, but it is a weird passage to preach on Thanksgiving. However, you've managed to like work in an actual application.
You're welcome.
Wow. but it does, it works, because what's the thing that ties this woman together is that I would say she's communicating and I know she is.
It's a character.
It's a character. It's a metaphor.
A caricature.
Yeah, that's that she is communicating complete independence of God. Like, I have everything I need. I don't need anything or anybody else.
And I can gain from all of you.
And I can take from anybody.
Because I've deceived all of you.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's the complete opposite of any form of gratitude and dependence on anything, which is why in the end it doesn't work out. There's judgment, because there's nothing left but her and her own selfishness, her own isolation. So it's interesting that gratitude becomes the way out of it,
or clearly missing, right? So
you're right. That's a good way of putting
contrast.
it. Yeah, it's clearly missed in all of this. 17 as well, but 18 for sure. There's no sense of gratitude for what has been given or offered. It's just even though it's been listed of all, it's, and not even I'm just repeating what you said. Not even there's the like you said, there's the wine, oil, flour, wheat, cattle, sheep, things that you would need, but then throw in their cinnamon, incense, spice, and you're like, oh, this isn't just a list of like things that I need to live. This is all luxury. That's just a really good point you make about like, there's nothing off this list. Everything you would ever need and or want is included, and it's not enough.
And it's not enough, and can't get enough of it ever, right?
Right.
Just to keep accumulating. It's yeah. So, oof. I mean, all of us could introspect for a moment and think about something that we have or gained or feel confident about that maybe need to pause and go, wow, I'm really thankful. I can't believe I have this thing in my life, or this person in my life, or these people, or these animals, or who knows what, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. Just that moment to remember, yeah, you were dependent on, right? And that interdependence is an interesting concept. That's the part where we are we're meant to take care of each other.
Yeah. Not own or control each other. Like that kind of comes through.
Deceive and control.
Yeah.
But to be supporting and thankful for. Yeah, it's a sharp contrast caricature. Yeah.
That's really good. That's actually really good. The other thing that gratitude does is it not only communicates dependence, I'm dependent on these things, it also in a way communicates, unlike Babylon, that I am not the sole owner and controller of things. Because to be grateful is I'm grateful for this friendship because it's but I'm not in control of it.
Right.
I'm grateful that I can in the fall I can drive through and watch the leaves fall. And I live
I live here.
I'm not in control of it, but because gratitude would assume like you don't have to be grateful for things that you think that are yours to own and control. You are grateful for things that are gifts. That are like things that you just are
in your life.
They're just in your life, and so that sense of dependence and that there are things in our lives that we don't control and should not, but that leads us to be grateful for them. That's the stark contrast, the complete opposite of Revelation 18. Good, and it fits within the holiday season. Wow, talk about a trifecta.
The three woes.
The three woes to the three
amigos. Put that link in the comments.
Listen, so we'll end with this for time's sake, but you may be correct that there is possibly another podcast that is in the last 6 months have done Revelation 18. I would place money on the fact that there probably isn't another podcast that uses Revelation 18 and then references the three amigos as a final statement. That's probably pretty unique.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that didn't happen.
So so that is that the three amigos patent pending. Or we'll just put the link for the movie.
The three amigos of the apocalypse.
On that note, have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next time.